Hello and welcome to All Gathered Up, the show that runs parallel with the Great British Sewing Bee and picks out any skills, fabrics or techniques that came up in the episode. And we do it hopefully in a bit more detail because, as you all know, you've heard me say this for 9 weeks already, because we've got more time, but more importantly because we have Carol Alayne, Master Tailor Couturier, with us as always. Good to see you, Carol.
Hi, Stuart. Summer is here again.
Isn't it? And you're looking glowing there in your studio.
Well, it's all happening. So the lighting is here, which is going to help me a lot because I was just, sliding around all these the fluorescent lights and desk lamps and all this. And I've decided I'm going to be centered here now. So behind me is about 30 years worth of inventory, getting organized now, and then that's all going to be hidden behind a shoji screen cupboard. So that will be really nice.
I love it. I can see the posh pin lights at the top there as well.
Oh, yes.
You look illuminated. It looks so much bigger and spacious, doesn't it?
It is. It has really enlarged the room, and the lighting is so much. We really struggled with the lights, didn't we?
Yeah. And you need light. You need light, don't you, for your job?
Absolutely. Everywhere. Whether you're cutting or whether you're sewing or pressing, you've got to have the right amount overhead. So anyway, hopefully we've got that sorted.
Oh, well, it's good to have you back, as in doing a demo and seeing you in your studio space.
Yeah.
It was semi-final week, and we had, fashion icons, some houses that you're probably familiar with, I reckon.
Yes, I think so. All the costume history that I've had to go through, and also working with designers, they'll bring the books out, and then you go to photographers or whatever, and the coffee table is full of those books. So familiar with quite a bit, I think.
And I know, I think as soon as you saw the pattern challenge, and I think you went Gussets, definitely Gussets, a bouclé.
Yeah, that was it. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Kind of straightforward. Yeah.
Well,
we'll talk more about that.
Yeah, indeed. Just out of interest, remember that little challenge you set yourself a couple of weeks ago about the transformation challenge? Is that now lost somewhere like my shirt is? Is it in a cupboard?
I can retrieve that. Hang on.
Oh, right. Well, whilst you get that, I'll just get the screen up. Viewers, if you watched, you might remember Carol set herself a little transformation challenge, and we saw all these pictures of the classic kimono, and you were going to, I can't remember what it was. Was it, how much fabric did you have?
Yeah, so I took this long kimono and I cut off about 2 feet of fabric. And then I've set out, I don't know if you can see all the pinning I'm doing.
I'm going to try and get a close up. Where should we go? Let's go back to, can we do that? Oh, yeah, there we go. Yeah.
Okay, so
I can see all that pinning.
I'm going to retain the sleeves. I want to keep them because what I'm going to do is I'm going to do some, on the sleeve, I'm going to do some Japanese pleating. A leaf pattern or a floral pattern or something, and that's going to eat the sleeve up a little bit and put some decoration on it. So I'm going to keep that and then pleat it up. But because a kimono is square and shoulders slope, now I've got to create a new shoulder line. So I've got this pleat here that's going to go on the outside of the bust.
Beautiful.
And I'm going to put in a side dart, put in some darts here. And then also in the back, I'm going to dart out some of it. So it's going to be a knee length, really delicate dress with an underslip. And then with these pleats, again, with the sleeve.
Look at that sleeve. I can see the drape.
Yeah. It's really lovely fabric. A lot of the kimonos are very heavy.
Yeah.
Brocade type stuff. But this one I think is going to be really nice. So I'm hoping to have that done next week. So we can just have a look at it with your shirt.
Oh, I'm a bit up to my eyeballs at the moment. I don't know whether I've told you or the viewers. The Olympics is coming up, as you all probably know, starts next Friday is the opening ceremony, and I'm so excited because the opening ceremony is going to be like no other. The teams are going to be announced on barges and ships that come down, boats, that's the word, that are going to come down the River Seine on Friday. And it's it's just going to be something different rather than all in a stadium. But here in the shop, we are getting excited about the window display because, I've got the shop. We have this thing. I haven't got one here. Oh, I know what I can do. I can show you a video. Called, in the knitting world, it's going wild at the moment with this pattern called the emotional support chicken, and it's a stuffed toy. And I was like, I love these. Why don't we get people to make a chicken, choose a nation, and put the nation's flag as they knit the chicken, so they can be really creative? And I said it on my YouTube channel, thinking I might get 20 or 30. I have got over 60 chickens made that are going to go into the window. Do you want to have a look? Let me just show you this.
How wonderful.
I've just got
a great idea.
Well, some of these that I'm going to show you now have been made over the UK and all over the world. I've had some from Germany, I've had some from America, but so I'm up to my eyeballs with stuffing chickens because some of them have been sent flat. But take a look at this. I've just made a little film for Instagram. Look, there's Croatia.
Wow.
There's USA.
All right.
Greece. New Zealand.
Oh, that's such fun.
China. Canada. Look at that maple leaf there. Italy. I did that one.
I like Italy. Oh, I love it.
Bolivia.
Nice.
Germany. Look at Australia with the cork cat. So look, that was 55 chickens, and this week we've got a few more. So I've got a whole shop full of chickens, and we're doing the official Olympic window tomorrow. So I've got some friends coming in to help do it. So I've been getting bunting ready and red, white, and blue fabrics. I'll do lots of draping. So yeah, it's going to look amazing. So sadly my shirt has got no further. But this hot weather, I might just leave it. I might just go for short sleeved or like a with my arms out.
A gilet.
There you are, that's it.
Yeah, a gilet shirt. Why not? Hey, are you going to be able to see into your shop with all those chickens?
Well, probably not. No, it's going to take all the window because we've got lots of levels. I was out in the garden today painting some wooden panel things, so we can have chickens raised up right and high. I'll have when we do our final show next week. I'll have a picture ready for you to see. But
fantastic.
It's a bit like the people who comment on our video, Carol, and who watch each week. People are amazing. They've just signed up. I'll make a chicken. They choose a nation that has some story to it, whether they got married in that country or their kid lives in that country. And then they've designed that flag as they've knitted the chicken. And we've always talked about these hand skills that people have. I'm just constantly blown away with people's talent in so many different ways, Carol.
Yeah, I know, and how they want to be involved.
Yeah.
And, it's what a charming artifact, too, this chicken, emotional support chicken. I mean, that's terrific.
Isn't it?
It's a cozy idea. And people that want to do something but maybe don't know what to do, how to get involved. It's like, are they knitted or crocheted?
Both, knitted and crocheted.
Both.
Depends on your skill.
Okay, right.
It's phenomenal. So blown away. So and as always,
this is the
go on.
Yeah, this is the power. This is the power of the show.
Yes. Yeah.
And since we just to digress a little bit, since we talked about the masterclass, we have got 50 people signed up already. So there you go. Your
Brilliant.
chickens are moving. People are
Yeah.
signing up to our masterclass.
It-
It's really exciting.
If you want more information on the masterclass, you can still sign up. You're basically registering for interest. So Carol can then email out more information on how the masterclass is going to be run. So if you're interested in taking part, don't worry about costs yet. It will all be in there, and then if it's something that you can afford, you can do it. If not, but don't worry, don't not do it. Just register, and then you can then choose later on. It doesn't sign you up to anything, this registering. It just gives some information. It allows Carol to send the information out to you, and then you can then decide. That's right, isn't it, Carol?
That's right. Perfectly said. Thank you, Stuart.
You're welcome. So that's masterclass at ineverlearnttosew.com. Just send them an email and say, hi, Carol, I'd love to have some more information. And then you'll go on that list. And then over the summer sometime, August, September, you'll get some information, and we can go from there. So it's wonderful. This is our 9th week, and we don't have a demo next week, do we? Because it's the final. We never normally do a demo because we're too busy getting excited about who won and what the final is. So how do you feel about that, Carol?
Well, I think, it's funny how the show was put together, because it's taken this long for us to see, who the real experts are now, where the top level people are. And I think, yes, I think this is what we really predicted. For me, I really wanted to see Luke in the final.
Yeah.
I assumed Pasha would be in the final. And I wasn't, too sure about the
it was close at the end of last episode, wasn't it? Between Elsa and Susie. It could have been any, really, to be fair. And we saw some brilliant sewing. But before we get into that, I tell you what, it's very hot here. I think it's the hottest day today. And so if we're glowing, please forgive us, viewers. Okay, so we're going to start off with gussets, yeah? Let's go.
Yes.
I'm going to go into the blurb. I'm just going to find my piece of paper. Let's just, so the audience know. So during the pattern challenge, they were set to do, and I've got a picture, so let's go to the picture that will help fill in everyone with what was going on. There we go. I'm looking at the wrong week. Oh, there we go. I had to do a Balenciaga-inspired dress. Let's choose fabric that will drape but ultimately hold its shape as well. It has a fitted front with loose back, gathered at the back, and with gussets under the arm. What did you think of that as a pattern for the pattern challenge in general, Carol?
Well, just very, very difficult. A really big ask, I thought. There's a lot of fabric, and when they showed how it's to be made, I thought that's really complicated.
Yeah.
You really have to know the right side from the wrong side of the fabric. Now, the best fabric to choose is going to be crepe, a wool crepe or a silk crepe, or a heavier jersey, but not too heavy. But those fabrics would hold their shape very well, but you could really come unstuck if you didn't know the right side from the wrong side. And then the shape of the gusset as well, I thought that was potentially a problem, because it was almost a square, but not quite a square. So,
here we go.
Yeah.
They are sideways square.
Okay, yes, that's right. So a sort of a wide diamond.
Yeah.
But and also, so in order to get that in correctly, you have to mark, if there's any markings to say this is the front and this is the back, you have to clip in or mark it somehow with the tailor tack, because if you don't, potentially you could get one going the wrong way, one going the right way.
Which we did have, didn't we?
Yeah, we did. And then the other thing is, the crepes ravel. So I don't know if they overlocked the edges before they hemmed them, because I think they had machine hems on them. And then also, it depends. I saw a few of them, if I remember right, that looked like the center front panel was cut on the straight or the cross grain, and then the side panels were cut on a different grain. So you had all those, you had all those sinking kind of diagonal lines.
Yeah.
So something wasn't right either with the alignment of that in the pattern, or maybe they cut different grain lines.
Let's
I
have a look
wasn't
at
sure, but yeah.
the sample far away. So that was the sample far away,
Yeah.
and then
Yeah, so that looks pretty clean, doesn't it?
it does, yes, and then close up.
Yeah. Okay. Yes. Yep. Really nice. I mean, it's a lovely pattern, but it's just so complicated, isn't it?
Well, and then I love the back.
Yeah.
I did think that's a lovely little detail. But if you're walking through a wonderful evening party, cool, that would get people. Ooh, as you go past, they'll be like, "Oh, look at that!"
Yeah, it's like having a well-fitted shift dress in the front, but a cape, an opera
Yes,
cape in the back.
yeah,
And then the way that they fix the the front fitted bit to the body, but just putting a belt around the back.
yeah.
So the back just flies free, and then the front stays nice and fitted and.
But
on
you're
the
right,
body.
that animation where they were explaining how it went together, I was like, oh my Lord, I need, it's like, stop, let me just press pause so I can take it in, then move to the next part, because I think that might have been the longest animation we've had so far.
I think you're right. Yeah.
Yeah,
there's a lot of steps. And,
absolutely.
yeah.
And let's congratulate the sewers. They were all 4 finished garments. They were there pretty much, weren't they?
Yes, absolutely. And I don't know what went on in the workroom, but but I think it was Elsa who said, I can't. I'm reading the directions. Nothing makes sense. So hopefully they helped each other and worked together on it. But it was great. Huge, problematic challenge, and they all got through it. They all finished. So yeah, it was a lovely lineup.
Well, let's try and shed a bit of light then on the gusset, which is this idea of giving more room for the arm to move, so it doesn't hike everything up. I'm guessing in my basic limited knowledge.
Yeah, that's it. Do you want to have a look at something?
Yeah, why not? Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. All right.
Okay, let's go to Carol Cam. There we go.
Okay. So what I've got here, a setup, and hopefully this is all visible.
Yes, brilliant.
But I've got a seam here, seam here, and it would all be seamed together in a junction. Okay. Yep. Now this could be the underside of a pair of trousers. Okay, so this would just go under the body. This could be a bodice and a sleeve.
Get you.
Or it could be a different kind of junction. But as always, when we put a gusset in, we want to know what exactly is it that we're trying to do. And what we're trying to do is if something is too tight, we are going to try to add in some volume.
I get you.
Okay?
Yeah.
That's what we're doing when we put in a gusset. Okay? So you end up with 2 triangles. So this one is flat. If I were to do the same thing over here.
Oh, I get you. Yeah, and
that one would be flat. So, and the shape that you're putting in is anything from a diamond all the way to a square. Okay? Oh. So that's what's happening. And then we work on the underside, and we use our points here to determine how much room we need, and then it's very straightforward to install it. It goes in really quickly. So this is the seam.
I'm liking the sound of that, everyone.
What's that?
How you said it's very easy to put in. It goes in very quickly. It's like, great.
Well, it does. And if you picture the shape that you're going to, picture the shape that you're going to add in, it's just how much width do you need over how much length do you want to add that in? So if you make it very sharp, you're gonna have more of a square. Yeah. If you make it very long, you're gonna have a loose diamond.
The way you explained it makes so much sense.
Oh, I'm so thrilled. So here's a very big gusset I put in, because I just want you to see how this all works now. So you can see the shape. You can see the shape of my gusset.
Absolutely.
It's here. It's a big diamond. It's a big diamond using a 1/4 inch seam. And I started here, at the widest point of my diamond.
Yeah.
So I put a pin here so that I matched these. And I didn't put the pin, I didn't lock the pin in. I put the pin in so that I could maneuver around it. All right. So it matched the junction.
Yeah.
That was fine. But it allowed me to then work out, with the length, maybe starting here, going to the pin, and then pivoting. The pin is here now, and then going down to that end there. So these seams are already in place. These two seams you have to sew up to the end of your gusset. So there's what we see in sewing all the time, that little triangle.
Yep.
Can we see that?
Yeah, yeah.
Little triangle. That happens when you put in a pocket. That happens.
Yeah. We have it in patchwork.
A lot of places.
Yeah.
Yeah, you have them in patchwork.
Dog ear, we call them.
A dog ear. And then this is interesting because if you fold it on the half, so let's say this is your sleeve, and now you can see how that works on the half.
Absolutely.
That's what happens to the width. And then let's just look at what happens to the length. So it's kind of the same deal where let's line up the seams. There we go. And now you can see what happens to the width. You've got your length and your width. So it is an easy thing to do, but the hard part is calculating how much that you need to add in.
Yes.
And it looks a bit messy. It looks like this can't possibly work on the body, but it does if you look at it this way.
Yeah, you've got to, yeah.
You can actually see
that's the extra.
That gusset is.
That's your movability, isn't it?
That's your extra space,
and
that's your maneuverability. Yes. So actually, it is quite neat. It is quite tidy, even though, when I showed you this way, it looks all a bit of a mess, and it doesn't look very helpful. But it is. When it's on the body. So those just a few things about the gusset.
Now,
actually,
before you move on, I'm just checking. I think we had some questions that I put on the channel. Was there one about gussets? Let me just have a look.
Sure.
Was Tom? No, that wasn't gusset. Shari, sorry about this, everyone.
No, that's all right.
Oh no, I didn't. Or what did we have? I thought we didn't have a. No, we didn't have a gusset question. No, it's okay.
Okay. All right. Yeah. So again, what you would say is, let's just briefly, you would say, how much time do I have to add in what is basically, I'm using all about 12 inches here. It's about 6 inches on the half. So if I want to add a lot in, then you need more time to go from nothing to adding in, say, 2 inches of extra space. So that's really the trickiest bit, is what is the shape of that gusset going to be?
Yeah.
And how you need it to work for you. So in the case of the dress, it was I would say it was a very small.
It was small, wasn't it?
A small square.
Yeah.
It looked something like.
Yeah. So I can draw it. Yeah, like that. Yeah.
Yeah. There you go. Yeah. That's it. You've got it.
Yeah.
Kind of like, that square. Yeah.
Yeah. Perfect.
There we are.
But when you're in the heat of the sewing room and you're trying to understand that instruction, and you've got, as you said, the different sides of fabric, that's going to it's going to hurt my brain trying to compute that.
Yes, absolutely. Now, some of them, you saw that they fused the back of the gusset.
Yes.
So that that was easier to control. This is shirting. You know this all too well.
Yeah.
So it's pretty taut on the straight. It doesn't ravel too much.
Yeah.
So I didn't bother fusing anything. And also it's good to practice on these to make up a juncture here, and then just cut a gusset of different sizes and install it. You get good at it very fast.
Yes. Yeah. Well, there we are. When you explain it like that, it's just like, yes, that makes sense. And we shouldn't then be worried, because it's just like, oh, now I see it. Now my brain can understand it.
That's
But
it.
I don't suppose there are many, I don't know, are there many commercial patterns where they'll use the gusset as a technique, or has pattern designing changed where that is very rarely used as a technique?
Well, I haven't seen too many gussets in ready-made clothes. It's a very old sort of 30s, 40s, 50s technique, because they did a lot of dolman sleeves and clever cutting, and they, even in the make, do, and mend, in the utility clothing, they used gussets a lot for ease of movement. But it's actually, it helps in a way to use less fabric than to put the gusset where you need it, say under the arm.
We have them, because I kind of knew what a gusset was, because we have them in the knitting world, with the old-fashioned fisherman ganzies, a typical ganzi, where the fishermen's wives used to knit in classic dark navy with all the beautiful patterns and designs. Well, they would have a gusset in, and my friend Mandy does commissions for the shop, and she happened to do a ganzi last year. Oh, my word, it was a big make. It was in 4-ply yarn, so very, very thin. With all these designs, to right down to the bottom, where she put like classic fisherman ganzi, where they would have the initials of the fisherman at the bottom of the knit, but it also had the gusset put in, so the fisherman can move freely around without the jumper hoiking around everywhere.
Yes, without it lifting up when you lift your arm, so the whole garment doesn't ride up. Oh, they're really effective. Really clever, but you can appreciate it. It takes longer to manufacture something like that, and more material to cut something like that. So everything is getting really streamlined now in the industry.
Of course,
No, they're very clever.
Brilliant. Oh, I love that. Thank you very much. Okay, well, we've got Bouclé now, haven't we? Now, this came up. Did it come up in? It came up in several times, I think, didn't it? They were using it.
Yes.
Luke was using it in the Made to Measure, wasn't he? And it came up, I think, did it come up in general for Chanel chat, I think, didn't it?
Came up in the general chat, yes, because, it was an interesting one. It's like, well, what would you do if you're working on a garment that was inspired by Chanel? And I thought it would have been hilarious, because she started her first shop. It was a millinery shop.
Oh,
so you
hats.
You could have made a hat.
Wow.
With a great, a great wad of fabric coming out from it that went over your face and became a dress.
Oh, well.
So I thought, why not?
I know. I don't know how Patrick and Esme would have been about that.
I know.
But
But you had jersey, and you had the androgynous dressing, and you had the beading, and she did a lot of monochrome stuff too, where she would cover belts and put an insane amount of detail in it, but it would all be in one color. So to say, what do you make that's inspired by Chanel? Well, that covers a whole 60 years of output. From her. So
I got on my chat with Ting. I did get on my little high horse a bit with that, because if you set an inspired by round, which is great, because it means a big brief, doesn't it? As you've just said there, it could possibly be so wide that it then causes frustrations for the sewer, or some sewers could love it because they know where they're going to hone in on. But I don't know how you can then mark inspired by and mark the inspired by, because everyone is inspired by different ways. So I was getting frustrated with how they kept saying, I don't think that's very Chanel. It's like, well, you shouldn't be assessing the inspired by, because the inspired by was just so they create a garment. You need to be assessing the garment, not if it's really Chanel or how close to Chanel it is, because that's just unfair. Because I think with, I know we're digressing a bit, but I think with Susie's, they were like, oh, I don't think it's very Chanel. When I'm like, well, I think it's very Chanel. How can you mark that?
I thought it was very Chanel, and I agree with you completely. Who are they to say?
Yes.
What a better question would have been, this is a really interesting piece that you've offered up here. Tell me how this inspired you with Chanel on your shoulders.
Yes.
That's what they should.
And that would have been lovely, because then the sewer could have talked to us, and we could have loved listening to them as they tell us their story of how they are inspired. I know they might have done it during the chat bits as they're making it, but no, actually have it as the assessment. And then we could go, right, so you've chosen to look at the tweed. Well, then let's mark you on the tweed and how well you've used the tweed. That's how it should have been done. But I know we're nitpicking, aren't we?
That point. Well, no, I don't think so. I think you raised a really good point, because at this part in the competition, where the nerves are at their height, really, and everyone is tired, and that just it's an arrow through the heart, really, because this is personal.
Yeah.
You're deciding to do something. You choose the fabric. You make up your mind what to do, and work your guts out, and you offer it up, and they say, no, I don't
think it's very... I know, it's right. It's like, don't say that. Just mark me on the actual finished make, please. Look at my sewing. Look at my lines, or the fit, or if I've got that in. Yeah. Anyway.
And if I use black and white, isn't that enough?
I know, exactly. Indeed. But yes, you're right. There's a whole lot of stuff they could do. But I suppose Chanel, yes, it's the fabric then, isn't it? And that's how we get to sort of bouclé as well, isn't it?
Yes. Well, I guess that is the obvious one.
Yeah.
But it shouldn't have had to have been obvious. That's our point. So what do you want to do? Do you want to show some garments, or do you want me to talk a bit about bouclé?
Let's talk about a bouclé, because it's just, first of all, it's a lovely word. It's French, isn't it? Yeah. As far as I know. Now, is it French for curl or loop? I should have done some prep, shouldn't I?
I should have done some prep. It's a woven fabric, but each strand of the fabric can be completely different to the one next to it, and the warp can be completely different to the weft. It's a wonderful fabric, full of personality, because it's made up. And I've got some fabric to show you, which I think we've talked about before. But it just so happens that I am making a Chanel suit at the moment.
Oh, get off! There is no way. You really, seriously.
This is quite a coincidence. And this is the lovely, so this is just mocked up for the moment. So the pockets are just pinned down, but I've made the pockets up, and the pockets are using the salvage edge. And you can see I've got this lovely yellow and toasted orange
just going to zoom in
and
a
everything
bit.
Has
that way.
Everything has to match going down. But the pocket is so this is a round square pocket. Yeah. And as I said, all these stripes are going to match. I've gone perpendicular with this detail to make some fringe on the top. And this is all very contained. How did I do that? Well, I fused the pocket together, and then with a centimeter seam allowance, turned it all in. I've got enough of a facing here, and then I'll join some lining on, so that the pocket can actually be used. So 2 upper pockets, 2 lower, they'll all be lined. And then the inside is going to be lined. And everything has to match, you see.
I can say you've pattern matched. I can see that with the pockets, haven't you?
Yeah. And also you can see this white stripe here, this white stripe here. These sleeves aren't pitched correctly, but this white stripe will match.
Will it?
And then the lining is temporary, but we think we're going to use this paisley. She likes the paisley blue lining, so it's kind of a purpley blue. So purple and orange being the complement. So that should be lovely. And then she's bought this mock Chanel chain with camellias on it, which is really cute. And we're going to use this as a hanging belt on the skirt. So it's just going to be something that she could wear if she wants to or not. but that's actually
Yeah.
going to be a kind of sling belt.
Okay. So that's not a boucle though. Is that classic tweed?
It's classic tweed. Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Yeah. Now the boucle is kind of a loopy, slubby
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
fabric. Yes, you're right. But this is a very Chanel used tweed.
Oh, that absolutely. Yeah. Yeah.
And the weave is boucle.
Yeah. Oh,
Right?
I see.
That's the weave. So you're using many, many different kinds of fibers and strands.
Wow.
This has a bit of metallic in it, which is also very interesting. I don't know. That might not show up, but there is
in certain lights you can see a little sort of glint. Yes.
Yes. But I thought what I would do is I would bring some fabric out from the archive, which we talked about before. And I thought if we go to the, again, this is another tweed, but if we go to the, but look what happens. Look how it does.
Well, that leads us nicely because Charlotte did give us a question. Let's go, where are we? To questions. And Charlotte, because I have got this one. She did say, they did say on the programme that boucle is tricky to handle, and I've read it because it's loose woven. What tips does Carol have for the home sewer and boucle? So let's go into it and then try and answer those questions as well, Carol. Let's go to your other cam.
Okay. So this is a are we there? Okay.
Yep.
So this is a piece of tweed. Now, this is made up of a fabulous selection of fibers. I wonder if I should go upside down. Is this better, Stuart, if I go this way?
Yeah. Perfect. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So in the weft,
yeah,
we have a piece of chiffon, which if you open it up, is about 3/4 of an inch wide.
Wow.
And it's triple folded, and then it's woven back in. So that ribbon is here and here.
Oh, it's those bigger bits. Yeah.
Yeah. So every inch and
like
a quarter, you have another one of these ribbons going this way. Okay. Also in the weft, you have this very interesting white, which goes, fat and thin and fat and thin.
Yeah.
And then you have this, which is white and black.
Classic.
Woven together. You've got another one of those.
Yeah.
Yeah. Here you have a twisted.
Look at all those strands.
Look at that. I'll just have a drink.
Yeah, see, it's all those, as you've pulled it apart, it's all the fibres floating around, isn't it?
Could be. Yeah. And then...
Or you just need some more
and then
wine.
What you're left... Yeah. Alcohol-free wine, actually.
Do it, yeah. Have a good cough. I'll mute you and you can have a good cough.
Okay, go.
Go on, have a good cough. It's fascinating, isn't it, when you see that fabric and how it's woven together and how many pieces of fabric are there woven in. That's thick as, isn't it?
Yeah, it's really thick. And then if you're not careful, and if you don't prepare the fabric and fix it, this is what can happen.
Yeah.
Now, that tells you that you need a seam allowance of, I use about 1.5 inch seam allowance when I'm cutting something. So there's an inch gone.
Wow. Right.
That's
okay.
Gone
there you are.
If you make a mistake.
Yeah.
So what I would do to prepare it, this will answer the question. And I've taken this one and I've overlocked it in blue so that you can see it.
Yeah.
So that's one thing you can do with a wide overlock. And then you can also fuse it.
Your magic tape. Yeah.
Magic tape.
Yeah.
And this comes in a roll. It's 2 inches wide, and you can cut it to any width that you want, and it goes a long way.
Yeah.
And it doesn't stretch. Nothing is going to happen to that. So those are two things that you can do. Now, when you're fusing and when you're cutting, here's what I would recommend. That you take a straight edge.
Okay.
And you make sure, because this is a very irregular weave when it's all done, And you don't want to fuse something that then is, it's an arc, because
I get you.
you want,
Yeah.
because when we're matching all those plaids, and making sure the pockets match, and even though these lines waver a bit, you still have to match, because it just offends the eye. So get yourself a straight edge, and then go to the iron, lay this tape on. You can pin it if you want. You can pin it in place before you fuse it, against a ruler. And then once that's on, then carefully take the ruler away and then put your iron to it.
And press, and just press down. No doing, like, what do you call it? Like shushing your iron around and stretching that fabric out of shape.
You're right. Don't move about.
Yeah.
No twisting and shouting. It must be straight. Yeah. So that's another trick. And it's just fixing it. Seam allowances should be very generous.
Okay.
Because you don't, and that's fine. It's thick fabric. Nothing's going to show through. And then the other thing I would suggest is that you interline.
Okay.
And a lot of the fabric, you can take a muslin fabric, you can take an organza, but you want to back this, because you can almost see through it. It's so loosely woven. So get something on the back. You can fuse it. I generally don't do that. I generally get a big piece of muslin.
Yeah.
I soak it, wash it, dry it, so I know that it's shrunk.
Yeah.
And then baste it on as a backing, then cut your garment, and then put your reinforcement in, and then you can, when you're, as in the case of this pocket, then you can just cut some lining and put that on the back. So you've got the tweed, the interlining, the interfacing, and then your lining. So you end up with these really sculptured pieces, which then go a long way.
I can see that. That's not floppy. When you hold that pocket, that's not flopping, is it?
No. It's got to stand up on its own practically. And you need that, because the fabric that you're working with is very loosely woven, and it's really lively, and it can easily come out of shape. And then if you don't match things as perpendicular as you can, it really does offend the eye. So there's a few tips, Stuart, about working.
That's answered. Charlotte, go on, start making something with tweed or bouclé. Let us know how you get on.
Yeah. And thanks for the question, because again, it's a nice coincidence that everything is out on the cutting table. We can talk about it.
But when you look at that behind you, I can see the sculpture. I can see the rigidity, and that's what you want with this fitted jacket.
Yeah, you have to, because and it takes to sculpture so well if you back it and encourage it. Because it's loosely woven, it also has that capacity to be sculptured. Right. To move about and mold to where you want it. And then you can just stick your backing on it and then reinforce it. So it's a strength but a weakness of the cloth.
Oh, absolutely. It's one of those, what's that funny word? Yeah, where it's a goodie and also a
goodie and a baddie.
I'd love a really fitted, tight tweed waistcoat.
Yes, absolutely.
Or a jacket, a nice jacket. That would cost an arm and a leg.
Chanel. Did you remember? I don't know if you remember this, but going back to your knitting and crocheting, Chanel did swimsuits. Two-piece swimsuits that were knit, a tunic and shorts. And if you look into that, so you see, somebody could have done that. It wouldn't have been an evening outfit, though, would it?
It's true, but I might thinking a pair of knitted Speedos.
I know.
In this heat. That's brilliant. That's going to look stunning. So you say that's for a commission, or that you're just doing that?
Oh, yes. That's for a commission.
Commission.
Yes. And that'll be done probably first week in August. That'll be done. I'm about to
Oh
do
my
the skirt
God.
yet. Yeah, yeah.
Just before we move on, do you get ever nervous at all when you're working on something? Do you go, oh, I've got to get this right? Do you then panic like I do? Right, double check, I'm triple checking, I am right, I'm good to go, I'm going to cut. Do you still get that, or is it obviously less so?
I get good nervous energy,
Okay.
a lot when they bring me this lovely cloth. That comes from Paris. She went over there at the recommendation of someone else, picked up her length of cloth, brought it over here. So the first thing I did was to make a calico suit for her, a prototype.
Wow.
So I knew, where
Yeah.
I was going with it. I wanted to get it as accurate as possible. Then I can add on the 1.5-inch seam allowances and cut it with some confidence, because I know I'm on the right track, but I wouldn't want to cut this and then have to recut it and
No.
refit it.
No.
That would just, because it's just so delicate. The cloth is so delicate, and then it frays, and then
Yeah. Yeah.
be a
That
disaster. So I get nervous, but it's more like the goose flesh of, oh, goody,
yeah, of
kind
course.
that.
Because the feeling you must get when you see that on your client must make you just go, wow. Because I know I would. I'm looking at that already and going, wow. So that must be something really special to see your clients in a finished make.
It's kind of hard to describe, because there's a lot of hours in it, and you can
Yeah.
see it happening. You can see it
Yeah.
going from the beginning to the middle to the end, and then it is a bit of a new shock when they walk in and put it on. And I used to get so nervous at the Albert Hall when the singer or the soloist would walk out on the stage, and it's just really nerve-wracking, because you're so absorbed in the making of it, you don't really.
Of course. Yeah.
Yeah.
Fabulous, fabulous. Okay, well, let's go then. Shall we go to the? What would you like to look at for what the sewers had to do? Shall we look at the pattern challenge and look at their
let's look at the
Balenciaga
results,
finished makes, and you can just comment on them.
Yeah.
Let's go and do that. Pattern challenge. So that's what they had to make, wasn't it? We talked about that.
Sample.
That's the sample. And let's go in, let's get rid of those. So that's, viewers, if you remember, that's the picture what it should look like. And let's go in reverse in alphabetical order. Let's have a look at Ailsa's.
Okay, so that's what I thought. So you can see the side front seams, where there seems to be more fabric on the outer edges than there is in the center front. So I don't know where that.
There's the center front, isn't it? And then suddenly you've got these. I couldn't understand what was going on there, because when I looked at the pattern, let's look at the pattern picture again. There is a little bit going up there, isn't there?
Yes.
But it looked like someone.
It's those chevrons that are coming down from the side front seam to the outside silhouette, and it's those chevrons that you're getting. Do you see?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like that, isn't it?
From that the other way. So if you go down that seam, can you see those parallel wrinkles? No. How do I describe it? Go back to the center front seam, and then go from that seam to the hip, like from the seam to the hip. The seam, and I can see it clearly here. I wonder if we're talking about the same things. Yeah. So and it happened with a lot of them, but it's more pronounced on this color. So I think there was some blue ones, but even the sleeves look a little bit floppy and like what's going on.
They do, yes, and we did say Elsa was really struggling when she was like, the pattern. I'm reading it, I can't. Let's have a look at Luke's. Let's look at Luke's. There's that's Elsa still. There's Luke's. It looks like
same thing.
Yeah.
Same thing. You get those parallel chevrony lines, and they're even more pronounced with this color. And the neck looks a little bit unclean, and But anyway, look, they finished, and it's a really complicated
yes,
lace, and
yeah. And then
yeah.
Pasha's in the tealy
Now,
blue.
yeah, even more. These chevron-y lines are even more pronounced on
Oh,
this one. It's almost like you want to take up the waist,
what, those ones
lift up
there?
the yes,
Ah,
that's it, exactly
I can
right, Stuart.
see
You
it.
see?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. And it's like you just want to lift up the
Ah,
sides of that dress and make everything level. I
flat.
don't know what's
I get
causing
you.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then let's look at Susie's. Actually, Susie doesn't have much of that at all. She's only got
No,
one,
yeah.
maybe
Yeah.
there, but
Just,
this
yeah.
side is.
Yeah.
But they
Well,
are there. They are
so,
though in a most complicated pattern that perhaps we've seen in the pattern challenge. And to do all those and the engineering idea of the belt bit underneath too, I'd be like, oh, you've
yes.
lost me. I'd be in a corner probably just rocking.
And the hard part of that is the really hard part of that is you just got to keep going.
Yeah,
You don't really know what you're doing, but you just have to push on and
Yeah.
maybe look over someone else's shoulder and say, hey, what the heck do I do with this? And somebody will shout back and hope, they must have helped each other out.
yeah,
Because,
yeah. And that's where you
yeah.
just got to admire those sewers, what they made. They're amateur sewers.
Totally.
Who will have ever made anything like that before with gussets as well? Yet they all got them in. So, bravo.
Hats
bravo.
off.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Let's go to then the made to measure with the Chanel. So we've come full circle. The made to measure inspired. Let's take a look at Ailsa's made to measure. And if I get my piece of paper. Now, Ailsa said she was inspired by a particular. I think it was a particular photo that came down the catwalk of Chanel, wasn't it? It was a particular because they showed the photo, didn't they?
Yes. And I think that was a black jacket with a white skirt.
It was.
Very roughly, very
Yeah.
pretty. So you had a really high contrast there with black and white.
Yeah.
And then a white shirt and then a black tie. So she softened this look a lot for summer.
Yeah.
And this is one of my favorites. I love the mix of textures. And even though the tie didn't go to plan, still that little piece of dotted Swiss that she put on, it just gave it that contrast, that focus. And so she had a tie, a shirt, a waistcoat, and a skirt.
Above and beyond. When you're designing these to go on the show, you could just go, right, I'm just going to do one garment and make it really simple. Almost play it safe if you want to go too competitive and into it. And then sew that aright. She's given herself a lot of work here, hasn't she?
She certainly has. Now, she had some problem, and I noticed, this is a fitting issue, really, because her model had a very high hip-to-waist ratio.
Okay.
She had larger hips. So if you're making an elasticated skirt, it has to go over the hips, okay?
Oh.
So she had a fuller hip.
Yeah.
So in order to go over that comfortably, then when you get to the waist, it's too big.
You need enough elastic to go over the hip comfortably, and then it's not going to come in as much.
Yes. And it's going to be too big for the waist.
Yeah.
So it wasn't a great error. It was just that she decided to do that kind of a skirt with that kind of a fastening, a pull-on skirt, and then the ratio of the hip to waist. Now, she could have made it so that it was just about went over the hip. It was tight.
Yeah.
But she could shimmy into it, and then it would have sat well on the waist. But that was not a big error. And this, the safety pin idea was they would do that. They would do that on the catwalk.
Yeah.
That's what would happen.
To make it work.
I don't. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
But
so that wasn't a big deal. But I liked the layering. I love the mixed textures, and this was my favorite submission.
And that tweed waistcoat, handling and the fit on that waistcoat.
Perfect.
Absolutely. Let's go to Luke, who's next. Well, what an idea just felt for him on that collar, because how many times have we all been there? Oh no, I've sewn that wrong way round or upside down. Oh, Luke, yeah, done that many times. And I don't have the pressure of time or judges looking at me. So I've got no excuse. Yeah, I still make mistakes. So felt for him here.
I did too, yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And he did so well and put so much time into the quilting.
Yeah.
And I think there was a comment again, not very helpful, but one of the judges went by and said, "So you bought this in, did you?" And he said, "No, I quilted it." Yeah. And then the response was, "Yeah, but it's so neat." So, there we are.
I know.
And let's not underestimate that, because it's white, it's quilting white on white. That's tricky.
Absolutely.
So he did really well. And again, the mix of what he did so well with the Lady Gaga, with the vinyl and the snakeskin and the knit and the hosiery and the streamers. It's the same thing, isn't it? It's the buttons and the chain that he sewed in. Now,
that's a question.
Is it? Okay. So
Tom, who often let's go to that's the wrong one, sorry. I've got buttons, questions, and Tom. When attaching chain to fabric, would it be easier to make fabric loops and feed the chain through those? Both Luke this week and Mia last series sank an awful lot of time into stitching their chains directly with thread.
Okay, I'm just picturing that. And I'm thinking, if you sewed loops and then just fed the chain through, it still allows the chain to drop.
Yeah, so I was thinking drawing it. So you've got a loop here, you've got a loop here, and then your chain is going through, but then will it sag a little bit and then sag a little bit?
Yes. It has that opportunity. Also, if you caught it on something, then you could actually just, gather the skirt right up. Now, loops would be a good idea, but then I think you'd have to fix the chain to the loop.
Okay.
So feed it through and then fix it on. Now, there is a thing called a beading foot, which I've used in costuming with a domestic machine. It's a very tall foot, tall plastic foot, and you can actually feed through a string of pearls and zigzag over them, over a string of pearls, because your beading foot is very tall.
Yeah.
And then there's a channel through it. And then you can just feed this string of pearls or the string of diamante or a thin chain. Yeah. So that is possible.
Yeah, Tom.
Did we see Luke using a domestic machine?
That's all they use on the sewing bee. Yeah. So was he using how was he doing it? Was he just by hand doing a zigzag, or did he have? It looked like he was going very slowly, and he was just he had the chain and the needle, and he was just going through each hole and hoping the needle didn't go into the chain, the chain bit of the chain rather than the hole.
Well done, well done. So maybe it was a flatter chain as well.
Yes.
I think ideally they would sew they would secure the chain every 4 or 5, and they had people sewing all day, in their white coats and on the table. So they had hours and hours and hours.
That's what you need, Tom. You need many of those workers.
Get some staff, Tom. Get some staff.
Oh, brilliant. Thank you very much. Right, let's go back to Luke's transfer. No, we were a little made to measure. Can we just admire those buttons? The line of those buttons.
Perfect. Yeah, beautiful.
And the braiding.
Yeah, and the braiding, and it in a way it's a gem of a garment, isn't it? There's so much going on in it, and what an effort.
But when Luke gets that home, he'll just take that collar off, he'll just refit it, and it'll look stunning, won't it?
It will do, yeah. I love it. It's a little mini dress. It's really pretty, isn't
Did
it?
it?
And a very clever sleeve, if I remember. So it had a kind of an extension in it. And yeah, I'd like to see the pattern for that sleeve.
Yeah.
Luke, are you there?
Let's have a look at the next. Is Pasha's. Oh, no, that's not Pasha's. We have to move Pasha to there. Oh, no, computer. There we go. That's the long shot of Pasha's. There's something about, and it seemed, in my limited knowledge, that seemed easier than the others. But we've often said easier doesn't necessarily, as in a design, doesn't necessarily mean it's going to be a straightforward sew at all, because you've still got slippery fabrics there. What did Pasha have? Shiny satin and this matte.
Satin.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if it was a satin back, so there was a matte side and a shiny side, could have been, so she just used the reverse. That would make sense.
Oh, right. Oh, no, that's the wrong one. Sorry.
What a strategic move for her. That shows she's really thinking ahead into this challenge, because it's an easy make. And the result is beautiful. And hats off, because she's thought ahead. She's made a very wise choice on something that wasn't taxing, a single layer of fabric, no lining. And I did think about that when she was making it. And she said, oh, this is really tricky. I've got to get these pleats absolutely right. Well, not really, because a great, big, beautiful button goes over the whole thing.
It's true.
So it wouldn't matter, really. And the other thing I thought of is, black is forgiving.
Yeah.
And so how were those sleeves hemmed? Was that just put through a machine and zigzagged, or was it put in a small overlock stitch?
Well, yeah.
Really, there was not a lot to do. But it's just one of those magic formulas of good cloth.
Yeah.
A model which is, you've got a size 6'8" model there, a bias cut dress which is going to fall and cling. Why? Because you've got a heavier ruffle on the bottom. So it's going to weigh the dress down. It's going to stick to the body.
You could see, absolutely. You can see. Oh, where's my computer gone? You can see it sticking there. I know she's walking forward, but it is just, where it's like vacuumed around you. It was lovely.
Yes. And the result is beautiful. So I'm not saying that here's an easy way out, because the talent here is just looking ahead and saying, I'm going to make this easy on myself, and I'm going to do something which is classic. To be honest, a lot of the Chanel little black dresses had a lot more tailoring in them than that kind of a dress. So it's not really, classic Chanel, because she would have had, there would have been some structure. There would have been some other different kind of details, mostly on the tailoring side of things. But this is a winner, and it did get Garment of the Week.
Did. And, and that's where I think where she's done really well. I've chosen this garment, and it's also it's very doable in 5 hours, and I actually can spend proper time making it all work. So it's just very clever in that respect, as you say, thought about. So maybe she could really enjoy those 5 hours rather than I've got to do that, I've got to do that, I've got to do that, and I've got to do that.
Yes.
And because the judges can't tell you off for playing it safe or being too because it's an evening outfit. That is an evening outfit, isn't it?
It fits the bill.
Yeah.
It's absolutely to brief. And it's a slinky, slippery, hugging all the curves. Yeah. It's gonna win. It's irresistible, that kind of look. And then the fluttery sleeves and slightly low a décolleté on it. It's just a winner. But there's far less work in this.
Yes.
Than Elsa's, who put together 3 garments.
Yeah, indeed.
Or Luke, who had a insane pile up of texture and detail.
But this is where I would say to my kids when I was teaching, when sometimes the kids that maybe had a 25-minute play full of loads of techniques to some kids that made a play in 10 minutes and had two techniques executed brilliantly. Oh, how come they won? We've done 25 minutes of drama, and but they did 10 minutes, but executed it superbly, and therefore had spent more of their time practicing the 10 minutes rather than not practicing as much because it was 25 minutes long, and you only perhaps did, that it's that sort of analysis, isn't it?
It is, and the impact and the message and the drama behind it could be so much more poignant or appealing, or something you want to revisit again, even though it seemed less.
Yes,
but less was more in that case.
There you go.
I follow you.
That is absolutely it. Less is more. And then to finish, we have Susie, which we talked about right at the beginning. There we go.
Yes, I was watching her work, and where Susie maybe isn't technically advanced as any of the other sewers, but just hung in there the whole of the competition. Yeah. And it was going to get to her sooner or later. But the fact that she stayed in the process so long, that the fallout, that point where she got to, where she reached the end of her level of skill, and it was quite sad for me.
Hard to watch.
That happened. It was hard to watch, but another thing that came through with this is she's not an expert fitter either. So she put the dress on and said, "Oh, that's too big. I've got to take some out." Well, maybe if she would have pinned it out so that she had an actual. She almost made a new seam line with pins.
Yes, we start.
And then said, walk a bit. Can you sit down in this with the pins in it? Then she would have had her measurement for what to cut off. But the fact that she was chipping away, and doesn't have that experience.
No.
And then put on her first hook and eye of the competition.
On a show.
And one has to say, she did so well, and there's something really determined about her and resilient about her, which then it made it really painful to see her finally go, because she just hung in there. She was so resilient. She kept telling herself, "Come on, you can do this. Come on." And the way that the whole thing was put together gave us kind of the impression that maybe she would have ended up in the final. I don't know how these things work as entertainment, but Susie was certainly entertaining.
Absolutely, and made some stunning makes over the season. And when you look back at them and look at her clothes, she is such a passionate sewer. She makes her own clothes. She's wearing them each week. And it may not be everyone's cup of tea, but she's a maker. She's a creator. She's got that flair for it, hasn't she? That enthusiasm and passion. You can tell it.
She's got the imagination. Yeah, she has the imagination. She's very creative. She's not afraid of color. And everything about her was so polished, I thought. Her hair and her makeup and her clothes and her jewelry.
The outfits, absolutely.
Obviously, she thinks a lot about how she wants to appear in the world. And that's really what design is all about. A good designer knows that, how you want to appear in the world, what you want to look like. What do people think when they look at you? And Susie had that in spades, I thought.
Absolutely. And we had to sadly say goodbye to her. So we have our finalists. But before we finish the show, let's just have a quick chat about the Transformation Challenge, because I loved it. The ties, Carol. What a great idea, because we've all got ties lurking around. I've got loads of them from my teaching days. Let's have a quick look, because the four of them were stunning makes for all different reasons. You'd never think, well, obviously Ailsa's here with the ties. You could see the ties there, but maybe not with the others. You wouldn't have known ties straight away. So creative. What did you like about these four, Carol?
Well, what I liked about it were the two. Well, I liked them all, and because they were all different, as you say. I liked the fact that two of them took the ties apart. There's a lot of fabric in a tie.
Yeah.
You know, they're very long, they're very wide, but they're properly made. There's a lot of interfacing in them, so they're really sturdy garments in themselves. So I just loved Luke. I was glad that he found that many black ties to do
Yes, indeed.
that. And I thought that Pasha's was really interesting, a bit watery in the end,
Yes.
but beautifully done. And then you know, the other two as well. I mean,
Yeah.
I wish we could have turned Susie's around.
What I have got a picture. I've got a picture because that's what I loved. I wanted to see more of that. You could see.
Look at that.
Yeah, the structure, how they came up.
Yeah.
I would have loved it a bit higher, like a Ming the Merciless collar. That would have been
Yes.
fab if it was up
Oh,
here,
yeah.
so or like the Queen of Hearts from Alice in
Yes.
Wonderland, you know.
A great big stand
But-
up. Yeah.
And then how she got them strict and attached, and then you can see it from the front flowing at the bottom there and hanging and wafting. Yeah, I loved that.
Yeah. Well, there's her creative energies
Yeah.
in full force. And then Elsa's also very interesting.
Yeah.
And maybe she should have just cut the neck and put a popper on it. Or safety.
Yes, yeah, a bit Velcro, yeah, or
Yeah.
whatever. Yes, absolutely. But it just made my day. I thought this was a great, because we'd often moan about the Transformation Challenge. I know there's not a love for it out in the world because of the waste of fabric, and who would ever do that? But actually, I think there are many people that could quite easily do something like this. I'm going to try
I
and
think so too.
I'm going to try and get Ting to do something with his leftover ties. But yes, so the
There
four
you
of
go.
you there, you've enchanted us with those makes there. Absolutely brilliant. Right, let's just have a quick look at the questions, because I think we've covered them. There was Shari. I have a question about sleeves. When widening, splicing a sleeve, such as a bicep adjustment or changing a straight sleeve to a bishop, should you raise the sleeve head as well? And then if so, by how much approximately? I felt like I was reading another language there.
Okay, let's think about that. Well, if you're going to keep the same upper edge of your sleeve,
What, that
but
thing? Yeah.
yes, but you just want a bit more room in the bicep, you
Yeah.
can cut through your pattern. There's a couple different techniques. One is you cut a V shape from pitch to pitch, well,
Okay.
roughly pitch to pitch, and then down the center of the sleeve, and then you can open it up, and
Well,
that
that
does
sort of thing.
flatten. Yeah, that exactly. That does flatten the crown. That's the basis of the technique.
Okay.
That does flatten the crown out, so it looks more like a t-shirt sleeve. And with that kind of an adjustment, you can gain about an inch. If you need more than that, then you really need to look at the ratio of your armhole to your sleeve, and you may need to draft a new sleeve. But if it's a minor adjustment, you can take your pattern and increase the girth of about an inch, inch and a quarter. But there's other things you can do as well, like widening the, you can drop the armhole a bit to get a larger circle, and then you can increase the sides of a one-piece sleeve. There's a couple of things you can do
Okay.
to get about an inch. And then the other one was changing it to a bishop sleeve. Is
Yeah.
that the other question?
Yeah,
so
such as the bicep, the widening, such as a bicep adjustment or changing a straight sleeve to a bishop.
yes. Okay, so maybe we should do that in the masterclass. I'm wondering if we should talk about that, because that's a really interesting point as to how to modify a sleeve. If you've got a one-piece sleeve, you can change it to a two-piece sleeve and then have your vent opening. You can take a one-piece sleeve and change it to a bishop, or
What can I just say? What is a bishop sleeve?
Well, I'm going to have to refresh myself. It's funny because I think a bishop sleeve is it has a puff and then it goes. So it's got a more a generous top and then it goes thinner at the bottom.
I'm just going to do the wonders of Google. Shall I?
Yes. Yes.
Right. Let's find I'm finding a picture now. Look at that. Oh,
you see it in bridal sometimes, and you see it in costume.
Yeah, I think it's in costume. I'm just going to drop this picture in with the wonders of doing it. Have a look at this. Where's my mouse going? Come on.
Well done, Tech Man.
Why is that not? Come on, I want to. Oh, there it is. Can you see that?
Yeah. Okay. Oh, so all right. So it's a very generous sleeve that gathers into a cuff. Okay. But some of them are puffed at the top. Some of them are very flat. Some of them are wider than the other. So
cool. That's a lot of extra volume going in from a straight sleeve to a bishop.
Yes. Now that's in many ways that's easier to do because you're increasing the girth, so you would maybe slash the sleeve into maybe 3 lines and then spread them all out. So you're not changing the crown at all.
No.
Everything still fits into the armhole.
Yeah.
Okay, this is a style change. So this isn't to change to accommodate a bicep, a thicker bicep or a thinner bicep, because you do the reverse if you're taking the sleeve in. But this is a style change, right? So you're taking a sleeve and you're really fanning it out, and then you're cleaning up the bottom edge. And then putting into a cuff.
Okay.
So that might be something we could talk about as we get the curriculum sorted out. But if that doesn't answer the question, come back.
I want to know what you're making now, Shari. What are you thinking of? She's obviously got plans there for something. And then I think, if I'm right, that's all the questions done. But I think did you get a question on one video and you were chatting with a lady? Did I see that?
Can you remind me?
Is
it in the comments?
It's in the comments, but I can't remember which video it is. So let me have a quick look. I know we're going over viewers, but I know the viewers just love listening. I know they love listening anyway. So I'm just going to have a find because you replied to it. Here it is.
I did make a comment. Okay.
So let's screenshot that and pop it in. This is see, this is where viewers know it's done live. We don't edit. We record live. Carol's a one-take wonder. And then most of it is prepared with a quick rehearsal, but there we are. Let's put that into there. It's a bit small, but I'll read it for you. Hi, Stuart and Carol. Love the show as always. Thank you very much. Congratulations to Carol on your new studio. I am writing with a question for Carol, re making shirts. I don't know where I got this, but I heard from several different sources that you should set the sleeve in with the seam of the sleeve either an inch forward or backward compared to the body of the shirt, because it supposedly hangs better that way. It would be really nice to know if either you have heard anything about this. I don't know. I've made two shirts, but they just tell me to put the sleeve in, and I just put it in.
Yeah. Well, and what I said to her is that it depends really. Now you're talking about where you should put the sleeve in, depending on the wearer, because the arms are pitched differently than the pattern might suggest. So some people carry their arms a little bit forward. Like they're about to push something, a wheelbarrow or a stroller or something. So their sleeves naturally fall in a forward position. Other people, their sleeves fall in a back position.
Yeah.
So, and if you're putting in a sleeve and you get a lot of creasing here, you know, then you've got to move the pitch. The pitch is where you set the sleeve in, and you generally start your pitch at the front position here.
Yeah.
It's about 2.5 inches above that seam that you're talking about. But put your sleeve in and stand sideways and look at yourself. Do you have a lot of fullness here? You might want to move the sleeve back. Do you have a lot of fullness here? You might want to leave this, pitch it forward. So that's what it's about. Where you put the sleeve in relation to that side seam, forward or back, has to do with the wearer. And that's going to hang nicely if it's pitched properly. So I hope that makes sense. I hope that's helpful.
Absolutely. Well,
does it still sound like a foreign language?
No, not that one. That's not too bad. Oh, okay. Wonderful. Well, we've had an epic show there. That's an hour and 15 minutes. I hope who's still watching, let us know in the comments below if you got to 1 hour and 15 too. I know many people say they love the show. In fact, there was a couple of comments. Can you remember our So What series we did? We would do, yes, I think, a show once a month where we would just cover a topic and we would just talk. Someone has just found those and said, oh, what an amazing series of shows. I'm just catching these and they're watching them. So the value is going on and on and on forever for these shows. So I know many people just love kind of hanging out with us and listening. It's lovely.
Well, I've got something else in mind which we should talk about, but I've got someone in the building here. This chap is a knitter, and I thought, well, maybe we could do a So What show about knitting. and then that's more your world, you know.
I'd
we had
love
Louisa
that.
on with the quilting.
Yeah.
We could have Jamie on, and you could talk about knitting. And then I'd learn something.
It'd be amazing. Amazing.
Yeah. All right.
Well, there we are, everyone. Thank you very much. That's it. That's all the demos done. It's been lovely hanging out with you, Carol, at the sewing machine and just getting technical, because people clearly love it, don't they? They like learning these and asking questions and hearing it from you. You're doing it every day, and I think that's the magic of the show, is that you're still in it. It's not like you retired 30 years ago and sort of harking back to what you used to do. You're still doing it.
That's right. That's right. It's all a white knuckle ride in here every single day.
And I think people just love that. They can then relate to it more. We're all sewing together, doing the craft that we love.
Mm-hmm. That's it, Stuart. That's it in a nutshell. And then come October, we'll formalize it even at a different level. So, you know. Yeah.
Okay, we'll see you one more week, everyone, for the final. No demo. We're just going to be praising the three sewers as much as we can and loving, hopefully, seeing what they make and celebrating them, having the chance to show off and who will be the winner of Sewing Bee 2024 Series 10. It's a good one. Good one. So we'll see you next week, Carol, yeah?
See you next week. Yep, stay cool.
Yeah, absolutely. Cheers all. See you. Bye-bye.